Today is the 50th anniversary of what is known in our history books as Bloody Sunday. It was March 7th, 1965. I've had the privilege 3 times of walking across the Edmund Pettus Bridge with John Lewis. Back then, in 1965, he was a young man in his early 20s, wearing a trench coat and a backpack, followed with members of the community and people from around the country who joined to protest the fact that voting rights for people in Alabama who were African American were almost non-existent. And if you've had the privilege of watching Selma, you see it firsthand, particularly when Oprah, playing an African American woman who just wanted to register to vote, was asked questions like, who are all the judges in the district? How many jelly beans are in this jar? Questions that you couldn't possibly answer correctly and be then qualified to vote. But ask a white person and those questions weren't asked. So Bloody Sunday was all about protesting the fact that African Americans couldn't vote in this country, even though they had all the qualifications. And as they walked across the Edmund Pettus Bridge, there were sheriffs and deputy sheriffs and state police on horseback who wanted everyone to stop walking. They were walking peacefully, and yet as they came to the other side of the bridge, they started charging them on horseback, with guns, with batons, and you see John Lewis go down and people running back as fast as they could to the Little Brown Church, where later that night they talked about what they were going to do again. And eventually they did get to cross that bridge with protection, federal law enforcement protection, so they could walk from Selma to Montgomery and make the case for the Voting Rights Act that did get passed in 1965. It took away so many of those restrictions imposed on African Americans that weren't imposed on anyone else, just to have the right to vote, to have higher than 60%, I think, people who were of African American background, and have less than 3% who could actually vote in elections, showed the gross discrimination. So today the President of the United States and John Lewis, the representative now from Georgia, and many others are joining in that effort to recreate that march across the Edmund Pettus Bridge. I've done it 3 times. I've done it with my family, my children, and I regret that I can't be there today to do it. But it's a very moving experience. John Lewis is one of the truly heroic members of Congress who really shows by his actions and by his deeds what nonviolence can, in fact, create an opportunity. And he was there at the very, very beginning. So congratulations to John, and I thank the President and all those who are marching today, so that we remember that we have a huge obligation to correct the wrongs of our past.